Hi, we're going to do integrating quotations today. On this video, the targets for this lesson are I can smoothly integrate quotations into my own writing. That is the main target. And then we may be reviewing I can punctuate direct quotations. Not really the focus, but you'll see it in this lesson, so I included it there. The topic sentence that we will be working with is something that I came up with. It would be your idea if you were writing this. It's Harry Potter learns to confront his fear of evil early in the series. And then the quotation that we will be using to support that is fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. That's from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Albus Dumbledore says that to him at the end of the book. And that's on page 298 in my copy of the book. This is why I'm going over the skill. I've been seeing this a lot in students' writing recently. We will include the topic sentence and then maybe a transition, that for example, and then the quote. So Harry Potter learns to confront his fear of evil early in the series. For example, fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. And then sometimes I'll get that N dash Albus Dumbledore, and then the in-text citation, which don't worry about those in this video. That is not proficient. A 2 is approaching proficiency. And there are 3 steps that you would want to take to increase your proficiency in integrating quotations. So let's take a look at that. Step 1 is transition from your idea. I've done that in the example in the number 2 column. You saw the for example. You do want to have those transition words, and I've included some examples for you that you can use. One example of a transition is the reader sees this when. You can also use for example, which I've done. To illustrate this, or an example of this is when. So those are transition devices that you can use to transition from your idea to the quote. Okay, and that's your first step. Your second step is to provide context. And when I do that in the 3 and 4 column, I will do that in pink. So context is something like who said it, to whom, and why. You don't have to answer all 3 of those. If you do, you're really ramping up your context there. Providing some context really does help integrate the quote more smoothly. So I've got some examples. According to Albus Dumbledore in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Or you could say something like Albus Dumbledore says to Harry in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Or in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the reader finds out that, and then your quote, or you could start out with your quote, says Albus Dumbledore in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Okay, step 3 is, and this is usually after you've provided your quote, you explain how the evidence supports your idea. So I'm just unrolling my example starters. You could say, after you've provided your quote, this demonstrates, or you could say this shows that. This proves. This is important because. This quote confirms. This means. This establishes. This suggests. And this applies. And there are a lot of other starters that you could use. I actually use something that's not included here in my Exceeding Proficiency, my number 4 column. So we'll take a look at that actually. So those are your 3 steps of how you integrate your quotations. Once you're following these 3 steps, you'll find that you actually have a lot more writing in your essay than you would have if you were not integrating quotations, and that it's actually easy to write a lot just by following these steps. So let's look at the proficient column, what it takes to be proficient in this skill. So Harry Potter learns to confront his fear of evil early in the series. For example, that's my transition is purple. Albus Dumbledore tells him, fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. This is important because Harry learns to have less fear of Voldemort, who is evil. Pink you've got there, that's me providing context, and the orange is me explaining how the evidence supports my idea. So that's proficient, and then in that paragraph you might want to include another quote, and then transition out of it. And so here we've got 4, and again, this may not be the entire paragraph, but it could just be the topic sentence and one supporting example. So Harry Potter learns to confront his fear of evil early in the series. For example, in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, when Harry starts to say, you know who, instead of Voldemort, Albus Dumbledore tells him fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. Thus, Harry learns to confront the idea of Voldemort, who is evil, rather than avoid saying his name altogether. Again, it's color-coded based on the steps that we're using to integrate the quotations. Now, what I want you to note in my for example is that the fact that I've said the title of the book and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, that alone isn't what makes this exceeding proficiency. I've just included it in this example. What makes this exceed proficiency is that I've said when Harry starts to say you know who instead of Voldemort. Here I'm describing the particular scene when I'm providing context, whereas in the 3 example I just say Albus Dumbledore tells him. Another thing is I've said how this quote, more specifically, how this quote is an example of Harry Potter confronting evil. So Harry learns to confront the idea of Voldemort, who is evil, rather than avoiding saying his name altogether. Whereas in the 3 example, I just say, well, here Harry learns to have less fear of Voldemort. So I've made more specific connections than that. So that's how you integrate quotations, and hopefully this helps.